and good morning all participants. Thank you for the time given. I take this opportunity to give a better insight of what we are doing at the Odisha Lift Irrigation Corporation so as to benefit our farmers. Next slide. So this is Biju Krisak Vikas Yojana is one of the several schemes that we implement. And why I have highlighted here it is because it is one of our flagship schemes and the gestation period is much less compared to the major and medium projects in the irrigation sector. And more so the farmers have a big stake in it, since we also take a beneficiary share from the farmers, either by way of land in community lift irrigation projects or payment of upfront payment of share payment in cluster deep borewell projects. So can we go to the next? I'm not going through these details, but I'd just like to inform everyone here that while the community lift irrigation projects are there across the whole state of Odisha, the cluster deep borewell projects we are encouraging to, and we take up only in those districts which have hard rock areas, which are almost around 26 districts, and we focus mainly on the western districts of Odisha. Next, please. So here I'd just like to focus on the IP created. We are slowly and steadily increasing the IP created, and last year we had targeted at 1.2 and we have been able to manage and achieve around 1.7 thousand to 78 hectares. Well, the figure doesn't matter, but what I'm trying to say basically here is, for this Kharif season, we have these many farmers and this much area of land which can be utilized for agriculture. And in this current ongoing year, we are aiming at another lakh odd hectares, and the process is ongoing. Next, please. So in this particular slide, I would only like, it gives a broader idea of what all we do at the Irrigation Corporation. So besides the first two components that I have mentioned, which is community lift irrigation projects, deep borewells, and deep borewells also I'd like to just flag that from this year onwards, we have also taken up based on the basis of solar pumps. While earlier we were doing solar pumps in a very, very small pilot kind of a way, we have now taken it up on a large scale, and we are trying to converge the PM Kusum scheme also here. Likewise, some of our projects, the lift irrigation projects, this corporation has been around for a very long time. So they are quite old and some of them require a lot of repair works. So government was seized of this, and a new scheme has also been started for revival of the defunct lift irrigation projects. Next, please. So these are some of our successful projects, which I just, because seeing is believing. More than me speaking or anybody speaking, I think Puni Murmu is one of our master resource person, and she has actually been motivating others by taking up training classes and all. And the reason why I'm showing these slides is the kind of income that has been added to the farming community. For instance, this particular group in Mayurbhanj village, like a year back they were earning 1.5 lakh. We did a assessment also. We took the help of university, the OUAT, and did an assessment study on what is the kind of impact on their economic livelihood. Next, please. So these are again just some of the visuals, and these are districts which are slightly on the western side and dry zones also of Odisha, Sundargarh district and Sambalpur district. Next, please. At OLIC, we are doing a lot of convergence. While the previous slide showed how we converged with the Agriculture and Farmers Empowerment Department, in this slide, we are basically trying to show our convergence with the SC/ST department, wherein there is a wonderful scheme called Mission Jivika, Now, Mission Jivika gives the contributory share of the beneficiaries, and they actually handhold these farmers. So what happens is in OLIC, when we do a project, we hand it over to the Pani Panchayats. Under the Pani Panchayat Act, since the last 15 odd years, the decentralizing process has started. However, our Pani Panchayats do need handholding at times. So one of the success of these schemes wherein we have dovetailed with Agri Department and SCST Department is the kind of support they are getting from the extension workers, whether it is our government officials or it is with the support of some very good NGOs we have working with us in the field. Next, please. So these are just some figures. I'm not going into these figures because they are just on how much we have done and all. But I'd like you to just take a look at the kind of area, geographical coverage that we have shown here. While we are showing here Koraput district in one part of Odisha, we are also showing you Mayurbhanj and Kandhamal in different parts of Odisha. And I was earlier mentioning about how we have taken up solar pumps also. So some of these projects are also highlighted here. Next, please. In this slide, I would like to highlight on two components, which is the effort that we are taking by way of our projects to shift from paddy to non-paddy. So one of the agreements that the farmer signs with us is a water sharing agreement with the other farmers. Plus, they also sign an agreement saying that they will shift to non-paddy. So while there is no penal teeth to the agreement, but we do make an effort to ensure that they shift to non-paddy. And I'd also like to inform the members of the jury that we did do a midterm assessment of the program. And by not only by the Agri University, but by an independent agency also. And some of the feedback there was we have to have better coordination with Agri Department, and we have initiated the efforts, are in the process of doing so. So the block level meetings that take place by the Agri Department, we try and ensure that our representatives are also there, representatives of Pani Panchayats are also there, so that there is a better planning. This happens both before the Kharif season and before the Rabi season also. The next point that I was speaking of that I'd like to highlight is the skilling of Pani Panchayats members. And what we realized was increasingly maintenance was becoming an issue because of small repairs. So the idea actually came up from one of the farmers, and then we have taken up the skilling of Pani Panchayat members themselves. OLIC right now has an MOU with the skill training department here, and there's a lot of focus on skill development also. And we encourage farmers, the selection process of the farmers, we ensure that these are farmers who can also be not just our master resource person, but who also have that kind of standing in the community, so that they can, there's no point training 20 people in a district and then nobody knows who these 20 people are. So our selection was, we took a lot of effort and a lot of time in selecting and popularizing these numbers, so that for minor repairs, they can do it themselves in the field. And we took extensive help of Valmi, our land management institute, Water and Land Management Institute, for the same. Next, please. So this is just a glimpse of the kind of crops that is being done. So the sunflower you see is from Jajpur district. The vegetables are from Kalahandi, Koraput, Kandhamal. Rayagada specializes in lemongrass. Gajapati, one of our districts, in maize. So we are trying to create these hubs, and we in that also in active coordination with the horticulture and agriculture department. I'd also like to just, though it's not mentioned in the slide here, we are also trying to put a lot of focus on conjunctive use of water within our department itself, the water resources department and irrigation component. We have MIs doing check dams. We have LIs doing lifting of water from these check dams. And we are enabling that access, it is enabled to micro irrigation systems. Next, please. So these are just some case studies. I thought later on, if there are any details or further queries, it may interest some of the other participants also to see what kind of stuff is happening here, what kind of changes is happening in remote areas of Odisha. Next, please. So while taking you through the presentation, I have already mentioned these points, but I just like to again focus on what is the difference that we have done. So in the first bullet, I'd only like to focus on tail end connectivity. Most of our irrigation projects, the issue arises with the tail end farmers. So since maybe because these are smaller projects of 5 hectare, which are individual assets, or 40 hectares, which are community assets. So the tail end connectivity is definitely ensured, especially since the Pani Panchayats are active. While speaking about the second point, geographical inclusivity, I feel very happy and actually proud of saying that in some of our remotest areas like the Swabhiman Anchala of Malkangiri, I think the first lift irrigation project started in only last year, and it's the first time the farmers in that part of Odisha are seeing protective irrigation. And the third is, of course, it seems very obvious, but then this stopping of migration of farmers and encouraging employment in rural areas, this was actually thrown up by the OUAT in few districts like Bargarh district, Bolangir district. These were specific districts where they mentioned that it has had an impact. Crop diversification, I have already spoken of, and accelerated the growth of income. Next, please. Next, please. So these are again some of the visuals that we are trying to showcase the kind of efforts being taken and the kind of benefits that is reaching across to the farmers. So solar, I'd also like to flag that we did have hiccups. We still have hiccups, and we are trying to remove those issues in terms by service providers of solar projects, especially maintenance has been very, very difficult. But daily we have to be in coordination with them. Their helpline numbers keep changing. We keep getting phone calls. However, we are making that effort because ultimately this is the way to go ahead. Next, please. This again is basically a self-help group which is doing this, which is why I wanted to show this. They've taken land on lease, and they have taken these benefits, and they are actually now marketing in Cuttack. There is another slide also. Next, please. These are cluster of cultivation of banana. Like that, we have cluster cultivation of brinjal also. Next, please. So this farmers group actually comes is marketing the produce in Cuttack, one of our major wholesale markets. Next, please. So this, I think I've already spoken on. I will only like to say.
Can you wind up your presentation?
Yes, yes, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, I think this is my last penultimate slide. I just like to say there were a lot of challenges, especially when we went online. There were a lot of issues which farmers had, but with the wide network of common service centers, now those issues are sorted out. And we have also switched over to efficient pumps, and convergence in PP I've already mentioned. Next, please. Next. Yeah. So this is where we are showing how we have tried to work in the framework of transparency, technology, and teamwork to ensure that ultimately the farmers benefit. And we are also upscaling our technology. The underground pipeline is quite efficient now, and we ensure quality. We do have a regional CPET who does our quality testing here. Next, please. Next. So here, while borewells, we have started doing solar borewells. In community lift irrigation projects, we'll just be going ahead with it. Equitable irrigation, I've already said. We are spreading all across Odisha, especially those areas where electric connection is there in the villages, but the farmlands may not have the connection. And of course, we do it in coordination with the groundwater department, both the central and the state groundwater department. So I'd like to close my PPT here and thank everybody for the patient hearing. If there are any questions, I'll be willing to respond to them.
Thank you very much for an excellent presentation. All I can say that there is a very comprehensive approach of your state where you are really collaborating with various departments to make sure that the proper irrigation and the water management is done. My only thing is the outcomes have to be measured more objectively over a long-term period so that the schemes can be improved in due course. That's all.
Absolutely. We have taken the baseline studies. We have also assigned a third-party agency for the same. Yes. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Lift irrigation is basically a dry subject. Everybody does is routinely. But what stands out in your presentation is your close coordination and innovative ways to integrate and bring in other departments to, get their interventions into your project and finally get the farmer the outcome which he deserves. And that shows in your, photographs. Beautiful photographs of the vegetables being cultivated.
Seeing is believing. One has to come to the field to kind of understand.
I understand, and the enthusiasm shows in your face. So I must congratulate you for not only for the presentation but for the hard work which has gone into bringing all the departments together. I know it's not easy in the field, and especially when you are reaching out to people who are working the ground level.
Yes.
The farmers are benefited, so they will come. But the people, the gram sevaks or whoever will be working in that level, village level officers or assistants, they are the ones, and motivating them to do some extra work is very difficult. But the way you are done, it's excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you.